Hey everyone, it's Byron once again here to testify for Jesus Christ. I'm doing a video. I'm going to title it Sleeping in Gethsemane. And this is a reference from the Garden of Gethsemane, or the place right next to the Mount of Olives in Israel. Pardon the chair squeaking. Um, and a little bit of information about this. You can find this story. Probably a good place to begin would be in Matthew 26, verse 36. And you can read it there. But just a little bit of background. Um, the Mount of Olives is a place where there were olive trees, and Gethsemane actually stands for oil press, I believe. Um, Close, if not exact. Anyway, so we're talking about a place where Jesus went to pray the night he was going to be betrayed by Judas and taken by sinners, the lynch mob that came after him. He went to the Garden of the Olive Press. And there's scripture that says that the pressure was real heavy on Jesus. And it's no accident that he's at a olive press, because he would have to put a lot of pressure on an olive to get oil out of them. And you can see reference in the Bible that states Jesus sweated as blood, or sweated like as if it were blood, or sweated blood. So it's a big pressure thing. And I don't know if you've ever been in the Gethsemane experience or not. I got a couple examples that I want to share later about some experiences I've had and are having that might be helpful, just to hear and realize you have a brother, um, in the mix. And as we can see from some comments and things like that, there's people everywhere needing fellowship with fellow believers um, who know the truth and want to do the truth and realize the pains that we experience sometimes in this life are not what we expect, but they are well worth it, considering the short amount of time that we spend here on this earth. But anyway, at the Garden of Gethsemane, or at Gethsemane, Jesus took Peter and two sons of Zebedee with him a little further away from all the disciples. And they were there, and he had them say, tarry here and pray. And he went off by himself to pray. And that is a point where we see that Jesus said, if there be any way that you could pass this, or let this cup pass from me, please do it. By cup, he's saying, basically, if there's any way I can escape with my human life and not have to go to the cross, please let that happen. I don't necessarily want to die. At least the flesh part of me doesn't. But then he also goes on to say, however, not my will, but thine. And it's a beautiful story, and it's something that we need to learn from and use as an example. Because we have a person who's walked the walk and talked the talk before us. And we know that times are coming ahead in which Daniel states, those that know God, the word escapes me, they will do wonderful things. And I forgot the exact word that I read in my Bible. Exploits. They will do exploits. But anyway, here he leaves the disciples, goes off to pray, prays that, comes back, the disciples are sleeping. Or at least Peter and the two sons of Zebedee. Wakes them up, asks them to watch, pray, tarry. Goes back to pray again, comes back, they're asleep again. Does it a third time, comes back, I guess they're asleep again. And he says, go on to sleep, it's done. And shortly thereafter, Judas betrays him with a kiss, and Peter cuts the dude's ear off, and Jesus puts it back on, and Jesus goes on into the city and then is later crucified. There's no accident that Gethsemane it represents an oil press, and there was a lot of pressure on Jesus. And it's just crazy to think there's some people that could sleep while Jesus is pretty much carrying this burden of sorrow on him. But that can happen, as evidence here in the Bible. When I used to be in the military and we did crazy things, and going through Ranger School and stuff, we'd stay up so late that it would take a split. We'd be asleep and didn't know we were asleep. We'd walk sleep and seem like, man. Anyway, it happens, and it did happen in this story. But I want to talk about here and now, and the things that are before me. Um, and each of us have different things before us, and each of us got our own giants ahead of us. And we have a God that's able to deal with them with us, or for us, or through us. But one time before, I had what I called a Gethsemane experience uh, in serving the Lord, and that was when He notified me that I would be raised up in order to come against the very churches that I was raised in. Now that's a big shock, a big surprise, and blew my mind, much less other people that uh, could have come to understand that happened. But that's exactly what happened with me. I called it a Gethsemane experience because the guy asked me, "What's wrong? Why?" Kind of like, "Why has your countenance fallen?" And it had fallen because I'm realizing what the Lord's calling me to do. Now that did not, and has not up to this point required my life, and I thank God for the time that it hasn't. But probably as much as 3 to 4 years ago, I did have a dream where I was shot. I was shot many times and put on into a van by some friends of mine, taken to a hospital. The hospital I was taken to in the dream, I lived in Louisiana at the time. I'm in Alabama now. But I was taken to a hospital that's about 3 miles, maybe ish, from me. And the doctor was washing his hands to come over and work on me. And I picked up the sheet that was on me and looked down and watched my wounds being healed before the doctor got to me. And I thought, well, Lord, that's probably figurative, or, if that's figurative, it's maybe me running into some things in my life that are going to hold me back, but you're going to heal all those wounds. And maybe it's an inside wound like yesterday's video and things like that. I kind of just, whatever. And then another time I had a dream where I was laying on a gurney and my wife was beside me. And she said, "Byron, just try to make it one more day." I don't know why I was on the gurney. I have belief that because she helped me through a previous time coming out of depression and potential suicide, that was just showing, basically that was my angel, the angel under the juniper tree that Elijah had an angel that nursed him, brought him back, man. He went in the strength of that nourishment 40 days to the mountain of God. I got an angel right in there that God sent to me. I'll try to break out of this crying mode here in a second, but there's my angel right in there. And you can see from the name of the site, Juniper Tree and Beyond, man, this is beyond because I've been to that juniper tree experience, man. And then my angel right in there brought me back with God. She was sent by God. Anyway, so that was 2 dreams. Then one day my son called me, "Dad, you got to hear this dream." I had a dream a man knocked on the door, and I got this. This is a video recorded on YouTube or the website or wherever you want to see it. Then a man knocked on the door. He just unloaded some kind of automatic weapon all over you. Bullets everywhere. "Dad, you were hit so many times and you continue to stand. I don't know how that's going to happen, if it's going to happen, anything like that." And then when I opened my comments and began to make videos not too long ago, a lady shared with me, "Byron, after watching one of your videos one night, the Lord showed me, I believe it was a vision. It may have been a dream, but I think it was a vision, where you were on a gurney down and immediately you came back up." So let's talk about Gethsemane. Let's talk about when and there's 4 confirmations in your life that it's very possible you're going to be shot because of your testimony of Jesus Christ. I mean, let's forget about the things that I was concerned about yesterday, which is kind of petty. And let's talk about loss of life. And the things that go through one's mind when they really consider that. Because Jesus stated that, no greater love hath any man than to lay down his life for his friends or for his friends. And he did that for me. And I got a friend in Jesus. So if he's that much of a friend to me, I need to be willing to be that much of a friend for him. Sorry, I just turned my viewfinder on and realized I was almost out of the camera. So in my mind, I'm going through this time in which, dude, any minute now, somebody could knock on the door. Or while you're out trying to notify people of what's going on, any minute, somewhere, somehow, something's coming. And last week, some guy didn't send me an instant message, but did something with Instant Messenger on Facebook. I just happened to cruise through some pictures, and this guy appeared to be a trainer for UN forces. And then shortly thereafter, another person appeared to be in very good physical condition. And I'm just like, is my number coming up, But anyway, that's going on in my life right now and has been going on for some time. And I've come to grips, many times, okay, Byron, just keep going, keep doing. God's going to take care of it. Even if I die, let's just say I die and then immediately I'm with Jesus, But it's coming, and each of us may actually experience a moment like that in our life. So I'm going through that. I'm in Gethsemane. Here's what's sad. There are some people around me in my life who know beyond a shadow of a doubt how bullheaded I can be when it comes to doing things I believe I'm supposed to do. For an example, one time at Christmas when I was away in Iraq fighting in a war, the people that were gathered here, family members, my daughter, she was only about 4 years old, she pulled a letter out and then came into the area where they were celebrating Christmas. And the letter was a writing by myself. I write quite a bit. I wrote more when my eyes weren't quite as jacked up as they are now, but I write quite a bit. And I was writing my explanation of why I believed going into the military and doing what I did was worth it. And one of the things that I stated in that was that the people of this country are worth it. Now, I'm going to tell you something, man. You going into the military and serving the Lord at times like this are very similar, because we're going to face military-style action and stand up for Jesus Christ at the same time. So I was that serious back then, and now, again, I'm that serious. But around me are people who read that letter, who knows how determined I am when I get this way, and they're asleep, completely and totally asleep. Now, when we meet together occasionally, I wake them up. I stir them up. I do like Peter said. I do these things to stir you up. And I stir them up and I get some responses out of them. And then by the time it's time to run back into them, not literally asleep, but, they're not in tune with what's really going to happen. Their pastors are misleading them. Their pastors are not preparing them for what's ahead. They're asleep. So in my life, in my Gethsemane experience, I'm now seeing people who are spiritually asleep all around me. And you need, I want you to just look at yourself in the condition and the situation that you're in, and you're facing, some of you, probably tons of you, you're facing your Gethsemane. And you're looking around like, why is everybody asleep? Why are they sleeping? I mean, they're just asleep. That's all. I mean, I can't wake them up. I know these bullets and bombs are going to wake them up. Hopefully that won't be too late that they can do some kind of exploit for the Lord, but they're asleep. So that's just a little something about um, having experience. And, you know, I'd like to talk to some of these people and share with them the burden, the sorrow that Jesus was kind of wanting to relate with these guys by just saying, just tarry and stay awake while I pray. They weren't sharing that burden with him. And it would be nice once in a while if somebody came by and said, you know, Byron, and you guys, people on YouTube do, man, but, you know, we're talking real world, man, real life where the pastors have screwed things up. But I did have this one dream one time before. And I want to tell you this because this will end, this will be the little cherry on top of the story or whatever. I had a dream one time that the roof was blown off of my old house, the house I used to live in. I'm actually in the house I was born. I was born in a hospital right over here, but I lived here for 6 years, first 6 years of my life. And then there's another house somewhere down the road there that the dream was about. But in the dream, the roof had been blown up, flipped upside down, and came back down on the house. And my dad, who is currently passed away in this life, my real father, I do have a stepfather, he was in the dream. And another man named Urshree, he was in that dream. And Urshree just passed away like a month ago. But in the dream, I knew both those people to be dead. And they were in charge of flipping the roof over and putting shingles back on attaching it and putting shingles back on the roof. And I was just basically kind of like a kid. They know what they're doing. I'm here to tote around whatever they need me to tote around, if anybody knows what tote means. But they came to this one place where it's like they ran out of shingles or they actually didn't have matching shingles to replace the shingles that had blown off. And I'm thinking to myself, man, just get some shingles and stop water from getting in, you know? And they bowed up on me. They said, nope, we're going to get the exact right shingles to build this house back. And they actually had to go online and special order shingles, and they decided to wait and then put the correct shingles back so that they would match. Now realizing, you know, shingles been on the roof maybe have faded a little bit. The lot numbers may have a little variance in color and all that stuff. But for dream purposes, they were adamant. We're going to build this house right. Those two people were dead, or as Paul said in 1 Thessalonians, those that sleep. They were dead, those that sleep. But in the dream, I saw those that sleep come alive and not be willing to just slap any old kind of gospel to build their house. But they decided they were going to build it right. So this turmoil, this stuff that's coming, these things that we're wondering, when are people going to realize it's coming? These things that we're feeling pressure from, and we look around and these people are asleep. The Lord has shown me some of those people who sleep are going to come alive and start building the house right. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about. You can't just go anywhere and listen to any old gospel anymore. We're going to build it right. Paul said, be careful. Nobody can lay any other foundation except that which is Christ Jesus. But be careful how you build their own. And I'm telling you that there's some folks going to realize how they've been lied to, and they are going to determine they're going to build right after this goes on. After they start waking up from their sleep. That's going to happen. So don't be discouraged. Don't worry that during your Gethsemane, others are asleep. God knows how to wake them up, and he's going to. He's going to do it. Praise him for that. Because I'm telling you, there's times when somebody got to be slapped upside the head for them to wake up. It's kind of like it ain't just good enough for them to lay in the bed and smell smoke. That didn't wake them up. You got to slap them. Bam. Dude, wake up. And God's going to do that. He's going to do it for us. So let's be ready to help them build those houses back. So I'll let you go. Hey, I'm sorry. I dropped something. I didn't cover this thing. This is like a PS. Peter was sleeping in that garden in that story. Just like those men I just talked about were asleep. And they came back and built the house. And Peter, once he woke up and realized they got my Lord, realized he had denied Jesus 3 times, he woke up, and Peter's the man that preached in Acts chapter 2. And all kind of folks were saved. Those that are asleep are coming back too. Thanks.